Welcome. So in this video, we'll be answering question 9, which says, a line with gradient 3 joins 0, 0 with another point A. Part A. Write the coordinates of 3 different positions for A using positive integers for both the x and y coordinates. All right, so let's kind of just figure out what's going on here. Let's begin by drawing ourselves a Cartesian plane, just so we can visualize what's going on. So we've got a Cartesian plane here. Now, we have a line with gradient 3, which goes through the origin 0, 0 and point A. So let's begin by just putting in our origin here. So our origin is here. So that's going through that point right there. Now, where is point A? That is the question. Where do we draw point A? Because, you know, is it over here? Is it here? Is it here? Is it here? We need to figure out where point A is. This is where we need to read this right here. It says write coordinates for 3 different positions for part A using positive integers. That's the important point. Using positive integers for both the x and y coordinates. So my x and y have to be positive. Well, that means my x value could either be over on this side, but it cannot be over here because these are negative integers. So too, for my y value can be these values, but it can't be these ones down here because again, these would be negative. So that means if I can only use these and these, my point A has to be in this quadrant here. So that's kind of what we've got to visualize from the get-go, that point A is somewhere here. All right, let's just clean this up a bit. Let's clean the board because we don't care about those. All right, so we know that point A is somewhere there. The next thing that we're told is that the gradient is equal to 3. So that's another important thing that we're told here, that the gradient is 3. Well, let's think what gradient means. The gradient is my rise over run, and it's equal to 3. So in other words, what I need to do is I need to figure out 2 values which I can divide, which give me 3 out. Now, the most obvious one here would be, well, what if it was 3 over 1? Because that would give me 3. And if that was the case, what it's saying is run a distance of 1 and rise a distance of 3. So that here, that point there would be my A value, point A. That would be point A. Because if I was to draw a line through this, like this, that line would have a gradient of 3. So what is my position of A here? Well, it's going to be 1, 3. So one of my answers here, I might come over here for a second. Let me zoom out a bit. Oh, where will I write my answers? Let me write it here. I'll write them in red. So one of my answers would be 1, 3. Let's think of another one. So I need to think of 2 other numbers that I could divide to get 3 out. Well, what about 6 and 2? That would give me 3 out. And now let's think about that in terms of our Cartesian plane here. Now this is where we actually might need to, this is where it would be helpful if you had a bigger Cartesian plane. Let's start again. That Cartesian plane wasn't big enough. So if I'm saying that I have a rise of 6 and a run of 2, what that means is I'm going 1, 2 this way, and I'm going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 up. So I've got a run of 2 and a rise of 6. And that's what it's going to look like. So what would my point A be this time? So this point here is point A. What would it be? It would be 2 and 6. So this would be 2 and 6. So you can see what we're doing here. We don't really have to draw it. Drawing it is probably not necessary. It's just kind of making it a longer process. Let's think of the final one because we have to think of 3 different points. So what are 2 other numbers that you can divide to get 3 out? If you said 9 and 3, well done. Because that would give you 3 out. And that would mean that my final answer here would be 3 and 9. Because remember, you have to put your run first because your run is like your x value. Perfect. And we're all done, everyone. That is part A done. So this is how you're visualizing it. But again, you don't actually have to draw it. There are your answers. That one, that one, and that one. You should now, oh, I didn't put brackets around that. Let's do that again, everyone. Let's actually just get rid of these boxes. Make sure you put brackets around it. I want you to pause the video and see if you can do part B for yourself, and then watch me do it. So pause the video, see if you can get part B by yourself. All right, hopefully you were successful in doing part B. Let's now think about part B. I'm going to copy the question across. I'm going to take it. I'm going to bring it down here. Like that. We're going to do part B. What colors did I use here? Green. Let's keep the colors consistent. All right. For part B, all the difference is, instead of using positive integers, I'm going to use negative integers. That's the only difference here. So I'm still doing my gradient, which is rise over run, and I know that it's going to be equal to 3. I need to think of 2 negative numbers this time because it's negative integers. So again, if you wanted to visualize what this is actually saying, I'm now using this, so -1, -2, -3, and here, -1, -2, -3. So if I wanted to get a gradient of 3, what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to go, for instance, this is one example, 1 left, and then 3 down. And that right there would also have a gradient, if I can draw this straight, would have a gradient of 3. Do you see how that line is the same as this line? And if I drew it perfectly, it would have exactly the same tilt, but I haven't. So that is what it's going to look like. So what is the coordinate of A there? So what would A be this time? Well, it's going to be -1, -3, and that's not a negative, -1, -3. So that would be my answer to the first one. And again, think why this is the case. It's because if I have a rise of -3, because my rise is here, and a run of -1, the 2 negatives cancel out, and I'm just left with 3. So that means my first answer here is going to be, let's move that over there, -1, -3. Then you keep on going. So now you should be able to pause and get the next ones for yourself. It will be -6 and -2, because that will give you +3, because again, the negatives cancel out with each other. You put -2 and then -6 there. And then finally, you have -9 on -3, which is 3. So that's going to be -3 on -9. And that is your answers, everyone. So let's highlight those. That one, and that one. Hopefully that makes sense on how to approach this question. Yeah, a good problem-solving question, that one is. All right, hopefully you were successful, and I'll see you in the next one.